whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves. A voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. Udala. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Although the police has come out to debunk what was yesterday reported as an assassination attempt on Lieutenant Ahmed Yarima, the soldier who was involved in the altercation with the Minister of the FCT and former River State Governor Nyesom Wike. Of course, the police said that contrary to some reports that circulated yesterday, that he was trailed by an unidentified or two unidentified and unmarked Hilux vans without number plates. Around 6:30 p.m., the vehicle allegedly had men dressed in black in the vehicles somewhere around Nipco filling station around Kubwa, Abuja. The police said that never happened. But also some reports, especially by corroborated by the Vanguard newspaper, have it that yesterday the military sent out 8 whole loaded patrol vehicles, talking about military men in 8 patrol vehicles to the supposed location around Gado Nasco Road in Abuja to monitor things. So while the police said this never happened, there are some reports that maybe it happened and the military had sent men to go look out and see what exactly the whole recall was all about. Also, the United States House of Representatives Committee on Africa is set to hold an open hearing on Thursday, November 20th, to examine President Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. We were all here when it all started a few weeks ago with President Donald Trump saying there is a religious genocide going on in Nigeria, and as such, Nigeria is a country of particular concern. And if the Nigerian government doesn't do anything to check this senseless killing of Christians in some parts of the country, the United States might be forced to step in. He said it is going to be war. And also over the weekend, concerns rose over the size of Nigeria's delegation to the 30th meeting of the Conference of Parties. Speaking about COP30, that's the Global Climate Summit billed to happen in Brazil from November 10 to 21st, 2025. Well, I'd say surprisingly or not, Nigeria sent 749 delegates. I said or not because last year, Nigeria sent 634 delegates. The host country this year, being Brazil, had 3,000 805 delegates. China sent 789 delegates this year. Indonesia, fourth on the list, sent 566. So Nigeria, third, China, second, the host country, Brazil, first on the list. But you might think this is surprising. Last year, Azerbaijan, that's the host country for last year, had 2,229 delegates. And Brazil was second on the list last year with 1,914 delegates. Turkey was third on the list last year with 1,862 delegates. And Nigeria was eighth on the list last year. So I was asking myself, are we trying to beef it up, knowing fully well, according to reports, that the number of delegates you have is drawn from different ministries, parastatals, departments, private sector, academics, talk about even political parties and all of that, all in a bid to represent the country's interest. Is that probably why Nigeria had to, up it a notch higher? The likes of former governor of Anambra State, a Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, they didn't find it funny. He thinks this is an overstretch of our already thin resources. But you know how these things work. At the end of the day, we see how much we get to save because the deed has been done. That is it. And then the PDP controversial convention did hold over the weekend, yes. And they have a new national chairman. Speaking about the former Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Kabiru Turaki, he is now the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party. Not forgetting the fact that there is a controversy surrounding Turaki, and surprisingly, this hasn't been addressed by anybody that should be looking into that matter. But of course, I am Chisom Chinedu, and all of these and even more we're going to be looking at on today's edition of the Polity. Good morning to you and welcome. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki is here to do justice to all of these matters on the analysis desk. Tony, were you disappointed by the match yesterday?
What do you expect? You're asking me if I'm disappointed. What do you expect?
Yes, I know you were disappointed.
Definitely that tells you a lot. I've been making comments on Facebook about that, and that tells you the kind of a country we are. That summarizes Nigeria as a country. And we don't do things when others are doing. We don't get involved when others are getting involved. We only get involved when it is late, and it has been one of the bad characteristics we have as a country, we have as a people. Look at common, I don't want to refer any country as being common, but we could have easily topped the group. Look at South Africa, started doing their work from day one in a qualifying phase. The so-called NFF, they are there for transactions, businesses. They're looking for contracts, appointment contracts. That's why they keep hiring a Gavon, who you know very well that these present football techniques and tactics have long left him, and they brought him back. When you couldn't go with General Raw could have easily qualified us, but because he had so many entitlements uncleared, salaries were not promptly paid, you were owing him and expecting results, you've not even done your own, a lot of things happened. And yesterday, just as we thought that's probably what happened against Gabon could have happened, but they were all deflated. All the players, they were really poor, all of them, apart from few of them that really did something. You can imagine that in a penalty shootout, in fact, to score penalty was a problem. I knew very well that Nigeria had won different penalty shootouts during AFCON. Now the question is, what's the preparation for AFCON? And look at the coach, Eric Shelley, saying that the Congolese were using voodoo in this present, or in this modern football. The coach is bringing on such a cake. Thought that he attacked one of the officials of the Congolese team because he was using voodoo, juju. That with the juju, that Nigerian players couldn't score the penalties. Do you know that it was grace that led us to the penalty shootout? Nigeria did not even deserve being at that shootout. The referee saved Nigeria many times, twice. The ball was in the net, only for referee to call that there was an infraction. There was an infringement, which was right call anyway. Not every referee could have done that. And these guys were immediately Osimhen was withdrawn at the halftime. Everything went bad. That tells you that the team was built around him. Nothing. I don't want to talk about the football because it was really disappointing in the sense that we had thought that what happened against Gabon. I didn't even watch Gabon game. I just started somewhere and I thought that it was going to be the same. I mean, the Nigerians were predicting 3-0 against Congolese side, but I said it the other day that these guys, they play compact football. And I look at some of the clubs many of them play. Leo, Monaco, West Ham, many of them are in good clubs. And most Nigerian players don't even start their games in their clubs. They are just bench warmers. How many of them do start games in their respective clubs? But in a country that has over close to 200 million people, we cannot look at inwards, develop the talents we have. We have enormous talents. But that's by the way. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Onitsha, Ndosumo. It's always a pleasure to be here, and we're here to do the Lord's work and do justice to issues we have always before us. And I tell you that here is a learning ground. We all learn, we all educate ourselves, and we all look at things dispassionately, and that's the most important thing, not from bias angle. We look at things devoid of sentiment, not because you hate this person, you like this person. So whatever this person you like, whatever he does is right. Whatever the person you hate does is wrong. No. There are times the person you hate can do some things wrong. For you to point out that the person you don't like does something wrong, that tells you how objective you are. But if you stand on any time the person you like or the person you hate or the person you like his type or his style, whatever he does becomes good before you, you justify it. And whatever the person you don't like, whatever he does anything becomes bad before you, you justify it. That tells you how deeply biased you are. So, if you have not adjudged that issue where your mother is indicted by you, you have not in any way shown objectivity. So that is why we look at issues from the surfaces of law, logic, and some other things. You're welcome. It's always good to be here.
All right, then we're going to go straight to telling you what the front pages say. And right after that, we dive into the analysis proper. On our desk this morning, we have the Punch newspaper, Vanguard, The Nation, and the Guardian newspapers. We're going to start with the Punch newspaper, where the banner headline is Alleged Christian Genocide. U.S. Congress begins full-scale probe into Nigeria's killings. And the rider here, Nigerian church leaders to testify at Congress Thursday. Tinubu peace emissary meet Plateau Christian Fulani leaders. On page 2. Federal workers demand 35,000 naira wage award arrears. On page 8. Obaseki failed Edo. Oshomole replies PDP on page 7. Immigration IOM deepen partnership on border control on page 3. And of course, above the nameplate of the paper, 2027, Oshun Imo Kano lead 2.3 million voter pre-registration on page 3. COP30 presidency Obi clash over 423-man Nigeria delegation on page 7. Nearly $3 billion spent on Eurobond debt servicing under Tinubu on page 21. FG scholars abroad stage protest over unpaid allowances on page 21. On pages 4 and 5, Lagos driver flees with employer's car 4 days after resumption. Isn't that crazy? And then on page 30, DR Congo and Nigeria's 2026 World Cup dream. And to the Guardian newspaper, Pope Obi wading as 33 million Nigerians risk severe hunger in 2026 on page 3. Akpabio says it's government duty to secure Plateau, Nigeria on page 3. Abia Assembly writes Tinubu 6 Kanus and conditional release on page 3. 2026 budget delays spark fiscal spending concern uncertainty on page 6. Tinubu deploys peace envoy to Plateau as DSS arrests arms dealer on page 9. PDP's future in doubt after this disputed convention returns Turaki elected NWC on page 6. 110,776 Nigerians switched networks as operators process 20.5 billion SMS. That's on page 5. Nigerians need to support Wike on FCT's development, says Ogwejiofo on page 9. Asu Konoa, the Bank of G's fan Polity claim. Lament work conditions on page 5. And on sports on page 38. DR Congo ends Nigeria's 2026 World Cup dreams. That's it on the Guardian newspaper, or the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And on the front page of the Nation newspaper, Tinubu targets interfaith, interethnic truce in Plateau. Emissary meets Irigwe. Mietiala leaders secures a breakthrough in Just South farm dispute. And machine leads in voter registration on page 4. Akonde Ayedatiwa has turned Ondo into industrial hub on page 31. Now funds disbursement hits 106 billion naira for students' fees and upkeeps on page 3. UK permanent residency seekers to wait for 20 years. That's on page 31. DSS snaps major arms supplier to armed groups on page 4. Inflation eases for 7th consecutive time on page 3. A CPI down by 100 points. That's it right there on that story. And to the Vanguard, where the banner headline is banks profits rebound to 2.5 trillion naira. Manufacturers shun bank loans over high interest rates. On page 21, loan book size drops by 20.4%. Finance cost declines 52.8%. Sectors delinking from real economy, worrisome trend. That's from Muda Yusuf. Banks income may fall below expectations. That's from Adonri, pardon. This is fragile recovery. Ebomede on page 21. Convention of controversies, how Turaki emerged as PDP national chairman. And this story is on page 5, has a couple of riders. The first being era of impunity in PDP gun. That's from Turaki. Tony, I'd like to know who this man is. Because, I mean, the last time I heard about Turaki, it was in a very damning revelation by some lady, and there's been no serious investigation into that. But the allegations were heavy. They will shock anyone who hears to the bone marrow. All right, to save PDP is to save Nigeria's democracy. Olawekpo Hashim on page 5. Sanwo-Olu's aid forts move to divert focus from Apapa, Tinkan Island ports on page 10. Negotiation role, I led 600 bandits to surrender. Oh, come off it. Shegumi on page 9. Are we still on this? Why are people who are leading bandits to surrender not telling us more? And why exactly are we interested in bandits surrendering and their rehabilitation? Is that the way to go? Especially, we didn't have strong mechanisms on ground to make sure that they don't ever go back to where they are coming from. I mean, I don't know. It all sounds counterproductive at the end of the day. FG targets 160 billion naira from wheat production on page 8. Why North remains backward despite vast talent from Governor Sani on page 13. Economy, why Nigerian youth in diaspora are returning home on page 7. UK to allow Nigerians and other foreign students switch to innovator founder visa on page 9. Electricity workers threaten nationwide shutdown on page 9. The rider Imo transmission incident, a dispute not abduction. That's from the police. Tinubu to appoint ambassadors soon. That's from the presidency. It's been long overdue. I think we should go ahead with this appointment and get it done and dusted. And of course, we're going to be going into the conversation proper at this point. Keep it locked. It's the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. So Tony, did you see reports that emerged yesterday? They said Lieutenant Yerima was trailed by 2 men in black in 2 Hilux, unmarked vehicles, no number plates, and the police said it's not true. But some reports, one I saw on the Vanguard newspaper, allege that the military sent out 8 trucks to that same area. So at this point, we don't know what is what. But some persons have come out to link this to what happened between Yerima and the FCT minister.
I guess probably we are having a cashing cruise with the whole thing, and then from the look of things, we are just up for it. Many Nigerians have forgotten our problems, and the 2 major issues we talk about these days are, one, the Ned Nwoko issue and the Yerima issue. These are the things, and we have forgotten that we have tax before us, we have bills to pay, and we have to make our economy work, and we have to tax government where necessary, and we have to also hold government accountable to some of their promises and some of the things they have promised that they would do. If they are doing it, how wrong or how right these things are done, where are we heading to as a nation, what's our plan? There are things that are really affect us that we should be concerned about. But unfortunately, we have a bandwagon effect in this country. When it happens, everybody will start talking about it. Before you know it, everybody will abandon it and look for the next. And it's more like a gossip wire for me. Now, yesterday, when we thought that we are out of this Yerima and Wike saga, because for me, these things are their personal problems and it's not going to benefit any of us in any way. Our own comment is to make sure that things work in this country. It's not about somebody matching somebody with energy given to the person or doing things opposite. No, my own personally is let things work.
Absolutely.
Let Nigeria be a place where human rights, justice, peace reign. That is where I stand. And if you watch all my comments, it is really anchored on all those things, not really on sentiment, but we must also talk about justice, because without justice you will never talk about peace. So when you talk about Yerima being tried and released, coming out to say it is not, it is false, that is not true, first and foremost, we must start by asking who reported that he was trailed.
Big question there.
Because that's one thing about our journalists. Nobody verifies any news information. If one blogger releases one thing, before you know it, everybody is seeking for comments and likes. That's one thing about the present journalism.
So you think it's all a clickbait?
It could be anything. I'm asking because definitely who first, because if you ask Yerima, he hasn't come out to say this happened to me. He hasn't, and we have not heard from the naval spokesperson that this happened. But everybody is reporting it. Even some mainstream media, traditional media, said to say they are reporting it. And the worst is nobody is quoting any rightful source. They will tell you the military sources said they are investigating it. That military sources don't they have a name? Military sources say they are. Oh, come on! I don't know. This is what we call yellow journalism. That's what we call yellow journalism.
So we at this point we are dismissing it.
You have to, because there must be a credible source to anything before you start reacting. Military spokespersons who have the mandate to speak, we have the defense spokesperson, we have the naval spokesperson, they have not said anything, and the police have also not said anything. Until they make statements, then we now begin to talk and say it happened or how did it happen. For now, these things are more like gossip. So I'm really disappointed that some mainstream medias were carrying news without any verification of the source of that very news, which is one of the fundamental ethics. It is important. So who would you attribute this news to now? Who? Nobody. So why would we be talking about it?
Okay, so we dismiss it as gossip until we have any tangible report of that. Like I mentioned earlier, some mainstream media outlets actually did report this, and it was really sad that they even linked the deployment of 8 military patrol vehicles to the supposed area where this started. And the military, like you pointed out, hasn't come out to say anything.
They did not say anything.
And so fingers crossed.
They will tell you the military sources. What do you mean by military sources?
Let's go over to more pressing issues. The PDP convention eventually held over the weekend, and the PDP has a new national chairman, the person of Turaki. So while we are getting to know what's in the offing for the People's Democratic Party with a new set of executive, let's also mention to you that over the weekend also the PDP expelled Nyesom Wike. So in the lineup, we have the expulsion of Nyesom Wike. We have the factional chairman of the party, Samuel Anyanwu, former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose. We have the legal advisor of the party, Ademi Ajibade San, Umar Bature, Abdurrahman Mohammed, Mao Chambua, George Turner, Austin Wachuku, Abraham Ama, and Dan Obi. Now, according to this report, the motion for their expulsion was unanimously supported by members of the party at the National Convention in Ibadan. It was moved by one of the founding fathers of the party, Chief Bode George, and was seconded by Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed. This story is credited to the Vanguard newspaper, Tony. And so let's look at the fate of the PDP now. Do you think that this expulsion will stand, especially with Wike having assumed this godlike, would I call it, image and space in the party? And also, I'd like to hear your commentaries on what has become of the PDP with its new chairmanship and the convention in its entirety, not forgetting the fact that some factions have said we are not part of this convention, and so if you held the convention, this is a factional convention.
I think, well, whichever way you look at it, PDP, why you may say that they have a factional convention could be because there are some group of people who have come out to say that they are the leadership of the PDP. They have formed the leadership of the PDP. So that is just one. Anybody can come out and claim anything, and then it is now dependent on some factors to say who is claiming what. So having said that, yes, the convention held in Oyo State as we all expected, because we knew very well that the organizers were bent on ensuring that the convention will go on. But we also had it that the other faction led by Wike was also bent on truncating the convention, making sure that the convention never holds. So it's a battle of wit, just like I did say last time we were here. And this is purely a game of interest. And it's a case where minority is trying to cage the majority. Makinde faction remains the majority. We saw over 3,000 delegates.
Real delegates?
From different states. We are told that out of the 36 states, there are just 4 states that are not involved. And those 4 states are those states where there were factions. And those factions were supporting Wike. But the other factions participated. In fact, every state was represented during that convention. But where you had factions in some states like Akwa Ibom, Abia, and some other states, 4 of them boycotted. And they boycotted their own faction, Wike's faction in those 4 states. So does it mean that Wike faction, they do not even boast faction in other 32 states? So they don't have faction in Bauchi? Because for you to be claiming to be the real leaders of a political party, your faction will cut across every state. You must have members across every state. If you look at Wike faction, they just have members across 4 states. What about the rest? That's 2 states. So what it means that you are just playing. You're on your own.
Does it mean Wike is not as powerful as he's been made to look in this entire PDP saga?
I've always said, people make people powerful in anything. If I start assuming, thinking that you are powerful, you become powerful. If I assume that you are not powerful and do what I'm supposed to do to checkmate you, you are not. So over time, they have left Wike to grow different wings, and Wike grew a lot of wings. Started biting, humming, doing a number of things. Mosquito most times it comes to you first, it perches on you, the next it may give you a humming sound, bite you, suck your blood. Mosquito does a lot of things. But if you were able to clip the wing of the mosquito could not even, a clap can even make the mosquito to disappear. So the point I'm trying to make is this: PDP allowed Wike for so long to cause the havoc. Look at the losses. Many governors who may have never dreamt of leaving have left. Likes of Bayelsa State, Enugu State Governor, and so many of them who have left. And then at a point, Wike made PDP to be a dead horse. And we all summarize that PDP is in the grave. The only thing remaining is to cover the grave. But I said, could they find a way to get back to life from grave? It's a case of Lazarus. But Lazarus was just for some days. But PDP had been in the grave for a number of days. Now, look at what happened. Look at PDP is trying to reposition. From what I saw at the convention, they are trying to reposition itself. They may not have a strong footing in 2027, but from what I saw at that convention, they made a strong statement.
So let's look at the drivers of this repositioning. Turaki and other executive. Do you see them as having the strong will and what it takes to reposition the PDP?
For Damagun to accept to leave the scene and allow new person to come in, it tells a lot. Before now, we have thought that Damagun was intoxicated with power. He wanted to be there. He wanted to remain there, But look at, he has left the stage, knowing fully well that for the party to move on, he has to. Before now, this ought to have been done earlier on. But we knew very well that Wike never wanted it to happen. The moment Damagun wasn't saying yes again to Wike started reminding us how he used Damagun to all these things he has been doing. He said that even when they plotted to remove Damagun, he brought the son. Damagun never knew any son. He never knew any lawyer. He was the one that rushed to court, made sure that he was not removed. But look at the tragedy. They all fought Amodu Sharif. I remember when Amodu Sharif and late Cairo Jubo, they were accused of being in PDAPC, as it were. They were accused of having one leg in APC and having another leg in PDP. And this started when PDP lost 2015 presidential election. The party came together and said Adamu Muazu, who led them to that ill-fated election, must resign. That they bloated a lot of chances. Immediately, Adamu Muazu was forced to resign. Now, likes of Wike and the governors, they call themselves, what did they call themselves again? They call themselves PDP Governors Forum. They brought Sharif as an interim head, not knowing that Sharif, remember Sharif, Amodu Sharif, former governor of Borno State, who took over from Governor Malakachala from 2003, had been in an opposition from time immemorial. AMPP, as it were. Even he was part of APP when it was formed newly. They brought this man. And this man, being a political Maradona, being somebody who is interested in his personal interest, how he can use any position to get things in his own way. When they discovered that the man they brought was trying to take ownership of the party and possibly sell the party to APC, they started fighting against him. It was Wike that led the fight, no doubt. It was one of the landmark rulings of the Supreme Court, because what settled that matter was Supreme Court ruling. Because Ahmed Makarafi was the acting, because they gathered together and they elected Ahmed Makarafi as the acting national chairman, as a way to fight Amodu Sharif they had brought upon themselves, because it was a plague they brought upon themselves. I'm just trying to give you the background of some of these things, how it started. And when Supreme Court made that very ruling, then Ahmed Makarafi held elective convention, and that was how Uche Secondus, who was the national vice chairman at that point, became the national chairman through Wike. Wike single-handedly installed Uche Secondus. During 2019 presidential primaries, he had issues with Uche Secondus, because Uche Secondus was principally former PDP chairman in Rivers State under Wike as a governor. Wike brought his state chairman as the national chairman. It happened. So when Wike felt Uche Secondus was coming too close to Atiku Abubakar, I think that was one of the reasons. He had issues with him. He reminded us of different contracts he had given Uche Secondus as a governor, and some he executed, some he did not execute. He made sure he brought down his hotels in River State, in Port Harcourt, in different places, and then some of the things he had as a person, and he fought him to the level of the courts, because at that time people thought that Wike had so much influence in the courts. That was how Uche Secondus left the scene, because he was told that his ward in River State had expelled him. In fact, that he cannot be national chairman when your ward has suspended you or possibly
expelled you.
So something like that. That's how the taxes Wike used for Uche Secondus to be there. And he walked along and then with other interested party members and brought Iyochayu, former Senate president. And Iyochayu came. And there was a convention to decide who was going to be the party flag bearer for 2023 general election. And Iyochayu made a statement that he would resign if and only if the candidate of the party emerges from the north. So it was his own statement, but it was not binding because he didn't make it under any odds. It was just verbal statement, but it was something they used against him. But the critical thing was when he pronounced former governor of Sokoto State as the hero of the convention for supporting Atiku, for stepping down for Atiku at the presidential primaries, because Wike was also a contestant. Don't forget, he was a contestant, so he had thought he would have used money to bulldoze his way as a candidate of the party, not knowing that Atiku remains the master of primaries after he lost 2015 presidential primaries against Buhari. Tinubu made sure that it happened that way. Since then, Atiku went back to Dubai and then did master's degree on how to win primaries. Since then, he has never lost primaries since 2015. So when he came back, you find out that Wike started having issues with his former friend, or his friend then, the then Sokoto governor who was the speaker. So, and then the anger turned against Iyochayu. How would you come and say that somebody was the hero because he sided the, and how would you also side a candidate, an aspirant to such a presidential primaries? Iyochayu was suspended by his ward in Benue State. I think Otubo. The same tactics. And they brought Damagun as the person who is the next in the line of succession. And Damagun came there. He was meant to be there for at least 6 months and ensure that somebody from the North Central retains the position of PDP national chairmanship. Because these things we are zoned. Every zone, the geopolitical zone, they have got one thing or the other. So, and Iyochayu, being an old man, left the scene from Wike. Wike started using Damagun and then decided he will bring fire to every PDP state that kicks against him. He will bring fire. It was something he said during one of his media chats, that I will bring fire.
Yeah, I remember that chat.
And we looked at all those things, and he said that he did this for PDP, he did that for PDP, and nobody will take PDP away from him. Without PDP, Wike is nobody. PDP made him everything. He became local government chairman Obiakpo under the PDP platform. He became chief of staff under PDP. He became governor under PDP. He became minister under PDP. He became PDP. So most times people do not forget the other side. They look at things one way. But now,
Tony, let's not dwell on Wike.
I'm just trying to give you the background of some of these things that happened.
What he did with the PDP and to the PDP is public knowledge. I mean, we all saw it happen, right? But looking at what happened over the weekend, like you rightly pointed out, 3,131 candidates is no mean feat.
Delegates.
And pardon my manners, delegates. And the fact that only 4 states were not fully involved is insignificant. I mean, 4 out of 36 is really insignificant. The 4 states
were involved, but these were states they have factions.
That's what I'm saying. Even if they don't have the total kind of participation like the other 32, it's insignificant.
Very significant. The 36 states, even FCT, they all participated.
So let's look at the governors that participated. which is a very important statement in the entire scheme of things. Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State was there. Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State was there. Amadou Fintiri of Adamawa State was there. Dauda Lawal of Zamfara was there. And surprisingly, Caleb Mofwang of Plateau was there. There have been speculations that Caleb is moving to the APC, but he was there at that convention. But significantly, Ademola Adeleke of Osun State, we know how it's been for Adeleke. It's been, I want to go to APC. There's no space for you in the APC. That's why he's been up and about since for quite some time now. Now, similarly for Bara, there have been allegations
you don't expect
that
him to be there.
he now is in the PDAPC,
No,
right?
you don't expect him to be there.
And then there's Ebuka Franklin of Taraba, who was also absent. Does this in any way make any statement concerning where these people stand?
I told you that convention, though under different litigations, PDP made a statement, a strong one, and it is resonating. Wike has seized the Wadata Plaza because, as we know, they had called for the Anyanwu, all these artists, because from now I'll be calling them all these Nollywood artists. That's what Samuel Anyanwu, who has become a political puppet on Wike, they have called for their own meeting. You know, Wadata Plaza, Wike is the landlord of Abuja, so he can always tell them that I want to revoke the space or the land for you. Did not pay this, you did not pay that. So, but it is immaterial. What is material is the fact that over 3,000 delegates across different states were there, and we saw how lively, and the authentic BOT led by Adolphus Wabara, they were also there. Olabode George, because he was the one that read some of the motions, who has shown strong support for PDP. In fact, despite all the entreaties, despite all the overtures made by President Tinubu to get him out of PDP, he told everybody that he will remain in PDP, he will die in PDP. Even PDP is dying.
How old is he again?
Olabode George is very old. He should be up to 80-something years, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, he was once a governor, military governor of Benue State and some other states. So the point remains that PDP made a strong statement, and for the fact that INEC, because it's another thing we have to point out, INEC did not observe that convention, and some have said since INEC did not observe the convention, that it means that it is
illegal.
Not illegal, somehow null, void, invalid, but that's not true. INEC role during parties convention or primary is observatory, not supervisory. We must understand.
It did not carry out that role, and by law they are supposed to.
No, see, Supreme Court has made different rulings on this. INEC presence during party primaries or during national conventions, both elective or non-elective one, their presence does not invalidate the outcome. Reason being that they have no role to play; they are there to observe. I was just trying to tell you the difference between observatory role and supervisory role. So
you think it does not invalidate?
No, Supreme Court says so.
Okay, we keep our fingers crossed, and we have to go for a commercial, okay, right? But when we come back, I'd like to know, because some persons, including Lamido, say this convention is illegal. Remember, we have so many court orders and counter court orders all on this same convention. So we attend to some commercials. When we come back, we take a look at that some more before diving into other matters. The Pope over yesterday precisely spoke. He has joined in the call for the end of what he called killing of Christians in Nigeria. And also over the weekend, we're going to be taking a look at that conversation and debate that has come up concerning the number of delegates that we sent to Brazil for COP30. Keep it locked. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Ụlọọrụ Enugu Electricity Distribution Company EEDC na-agwa ndị ahịa ya na ha ebidola ikesa ụgbọmita ọkụ n'efu n'okporo Tranche B nke Meter Acquisition Fund NERC kwadoro. Ebumnuche nke usoro a bụ imechi ohere ndị na-enwetabeghị mita maka ndị ahịa Band A nke EEDC na ụlọọrụ ya ndị ọzọ Main Power, Transpower na New Era Electricity Distribution Limited. Mita bụ n'efu, enyekwala onye ọbụla ego maka mita. biko gaa customer service unit nke district office gị ka inye nọmba ekwentị na adreesị gị. Ndị ọrụ EEDC ga-akpọ gị site ozi inyere ha. Maka ozi ndị ọzọ kpọọ akara 0208 470 0100 maọbụ zipụ ozi na WhatsApp na 0707 461 0095 maọbụ 0707 461 0088. EEDC,
ike ọkụ na-enye ihe na South East.
ụwa izu oke mana dịka nwafọ Naija nwoke maọbụ nwaanyị ebe ugbu a ị kwesịrị ime onye na-akpọ gị n'ekwentị. Ohere na-abịa so naanị otu ugboro, mana nke bụ ezigbo ajụjụ dị na ya bụ ị ga-adịkwa na njikere. Ekwekwala ka ohere ọzọ ganarị. Lee anya otu kọlụ ziri ezi nwere ike ịgbanwe ndụ gị. Tinye Truecaller app n'ekwentị gị tata, mara onye na-akpọ gị, hụ na etufughị ohere ịnweta otu kọlụ ahụ nwere ike ịgbanwe ihe niile. Truecaller, za ezigbo oku.
Admission is ongoing at Anambra State Polytechnic in Mbako for the 2025-2026 academic session. If you scored 100 and above in the 2025 JAM, this is your chance to secure admission into any of our national diploma ND programs. The following courses are available: agricultural technology, animal health and production technology, home and rural economics and fishery technology, electrical and electronic engineering technology, and computer engineering technology. Others include accountancy, business administration and management, cooperative economics and management, computer science technology, nutrition and dietetics, and science laboratory technology. To apply and register, visit www.anspoly.edu.ng and follow the steps. For inquiries, call 081 390 63577 or 0803 926 1210 or visit the admissions office, Registry Department, Anambra State Polytechnic, Mbako.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
So right before we went on that break, we were talking about what happened over the weekend, the PDP convention that happened in Ibadan, and of course the outcome of that very convention. And also not forgetting that before it eventually happened, there was a federal high court order halting that convention and a state court order asking the PDP to go ahead with that convention. And so, Tony, that brings to mind the question of legality or not of that particular convention, bearing in mind that also INEC did not, you said, observe that particular convention.
Just like I said earlier on, INEC's presence does not confer legitimacy, and its absence does not remove legitimacy if the party's internal procedures are lawful. I have made this comment before now, and then it is important. Yes, we know very well that if you go by Electoral Act requirement, Section 82 of the Electoral Act requires political parties, they must notify INEC 21 days before a convention, congress, or meeting to elect party officials. But that's the provision of Section 82 of the Electoral Act. But if you also go by, just like I said, the Supreme Court ruling, because INEC was invited, they decided not to. They were notified, but they decided not to honor it because of the litigations in courts, so that it won't be that they are disobeying any lawful order of the court. They just
which is the right thing to do,
and they just try to absorb themselves. But just like I said earlier on, that the validity of the convention depends on compliance with the party's constitution, not INEC's physical attendance. The validity of a convention depends on the party's what? Constitution. In fact, sometimes if you go to court, the court will tell you that it is an internal affairs of the party. Remember Bill, INEC, when his primary was conducted, INEC did not observe it. INEC, in fact, filed a suit against Akpabio's primary, because for them, primary had been concluded, senatorial primary had long been concluded, and Akpabio losing presidential election, trying to use PDP officials to organize his own kind of primaries as the candidate of PDP for, as candidate of APC for Akwa Ibom Northwest, geopolitical Northwest Senatorial District. INEC, they filed a suit against it, but the court knocked on INEC. You have no say. Your presence, though, is required by law, but if you do not come, it does not change anything. You are there to observe. You are not there to supervise, to direct. Somebody who supervises gives direction or gives directives. Do it this way, you don't get it this way. But somebody who observes, just come and sit down without talking. And at the end of the day, you leave. What you will do is to say, yes, I observed. So most times, I think Supreme Court has decided this case on a number of cases we may not be able to point out here because of time. So I've just said INEC absence in that convention is totally immaterial. It does not confer legitimacy or illegitimacy to the convention, as I said. And the most important thing is that did PDP follow their constitution? And I haven't said this. It is important that PDP, just like I said, Wike ought to have been expelled from PDP long time ago. They did it so late, and that was why it caused so many damages. But some people will tell you it is better late than never. Somebody has been a political virus, a political cankerworm, a political pest in PDP, eating up everybody. So the point remains that Makinde, if we are to do this, in fact, it was a pure penalty shootout. Makinde seems to be Congo now. Wike seems to be Nigeria, because Nigeria lost a number of penalties yesterday. So the point I'm trying to make is this: this convention can only be nullified by appeal courts.
On what ground?
On the ground of whatever those who are opposing it bring before it. But remember,
it's the fact that this convention has a federal high court order stopping it from being held. Is it ground enough for this to be?
It's not, for me. It's not grounded, because it's purely internal party affairs. Leave party alone. That's the Supreme Court ruling. Stopping convention of a political party, Supreme Court may rule. He hasn't ruled anyway, that you don't have jurisdiction.
So who does have jurisdiction?
The parties. Leave them to do their things. It's their thing. I think that's more reasons Labour has not found his feet. It is their thing. And look at the one of Lamido, Sule Lamido, former governor of Jigawa State. His own was that he was excluded from purchasing the farm. And if you look at Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court, who ruled that his petition before the court has merit, and ordered that the convention should not go until he is allowed to get the form. But recall, I listened to the new PDP police secretary, and he said former Jigawa State Governor Lamido came after the window for form purchasing has been closed. And if you look around, and I agree with him, when PDP announced this convention for a very long time, Sule Lamido went missing. All of a sudden, he went to Walata Plaza to buy form, and he was told that the window has been closed. How can you not follow the guidelines and regulations? Can you buy JAMB form when JAMB tells you that the window has been closed? That was what the police secretary...
Wait for next year.
And he says that they are going to also challenge the judgment of Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court, who had ordered that the convention be suspended on the ground that Lamido was excluded from purchasing the form. But that is by the way. And I've always said it is important to find out that when it comes to nomination, leadership of every political party is purely and entirely their primary and internal affairs. If you go by the Supreme Court rulings, the Supreme Court have ruled many times that no court has jurisdiction. So we are going to see what will be the outcome at the appeal court. We are also going to see what will be the outcome at the Supreme Court, because finally all these things will get to Supreme Court. But until it gets to Supreme Court, that primary or the convention that held in Oyo State made so many statements. In fact, it was a big statement. And if you look at what Bauchi State Governor said, he was at the convention, just like you said, and even Mutwang. He was at the convention just like, but they said that they never at any point agreed at any of their caucuses that Wike and his co be expelled, and they tried to dissociate themselves from the expulsion of Wike and Fayoche and some other persons and Samuel Anyanwu. They watched the hands of Pontius Pilate. They were on, in fact, they were at the convention ground, but they said that nobody muted to them that it was going to be so. But these persons, they are governors. They have the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Muhammad, governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutwan. They are governors. Convention is the highest decision-making body of a political party, not even the National Executive Committee, the highest decision-making body. Once convention or the Congress, the political party Congress, once they have spoken, they have spoken. Their decision supersedes that of NEC, supersedes that of NWC, supersedes that of any caucus, any organ of the party. So it's good that they have expressed their thought, but just like one of them said, I think Bala Muhammad, but he cannot go against the decision of the convention that they have spoken. But on his own part as an individual, that he felt that taking Wike off is not really the issue. But I told him it is part of the issue. It is part of the issue. Somebody cannot be PDAPC. You either belongs to this or belongs to that. You cannot be a hermaphrodite, political hermaphrodite. You cannot be. Is anti-party activity is one of the cardinal sins of any party member. You must be a party man. You can't be in this political party and openly say you are going to work for a candidate of another political party. It is not done. It is something that is novel. In the Second Republic, you dare not say that. You quickly or quietly resign and work for that candidate in his political party. That is how it is done. Politicians of nowadays will be in this political party. They will openly, clearly say that I will work for the candidate of another political party. Why you remain in that political party? Then what is political party politics? What is partisan politics? You may not like the candidate of your party. All you need to do is to recoil. You don't need to come out openly to say you're going to work for another person. You may not work for that candidate. You may stay in the party. You cannot work for another person. Once you work for another person, it becomes an anti-party activity. It becomes an anti-party activity.
Okay, so we are leaving.
And you can be expelled for anti-party activity.
We are leaving the conversation surrounding the PDP for now. We keep our fingers crossed. When FCT Minister Nyesom Wike eventually says something concerning this development, and other 11 persons who were affected, we'll definitely keep you updated as these incidents develop. And of course, we're going over to some security matters. We understand that the United States House of Representatives Subcommittee on Africa is set to hold an open hearing on Thursday. That's about 3 days from today. That's November 20, to examine President Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And this is also as the Pope Leo XIV, yesterday named Nigeria among countries where Christians face frequent attacks. Other countries on the list include Mozambique, Bangladesh, Sudan, and talk about Kivu, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where there's been recent massacre that's claimed civilian lives. But of course, everything surrounding what some persons have defined as a Christian genocide in Nigeria, Tony, has been on and on for quite some time now. And I understand that we're not going to stop talking about this until we eventually root out insecurity from our system. There is Sheikh Gumi on one side talking about people surrendering, and there is DSS on one hand giving updates on how they stopped an arms racketeering ring. There is also customs trying to tighten, immigration also trying to tighten what's happening at our borders. What else are we supposed to be doing really fast and urgently, not just to save our face in the international community, because presently our face is really smeared? What else should we be doing to make sure that there is a stop to the killings of Christians and generally killings in Nigeria?
I think we have to do what we are supposed to do, because we have started with image laundering and diplomatic efforts,
washing the back of the cup.
That's just that. So, but then we must stop the killings. That's the most important thing. I think that's the fulcrum of all these hues and cries. That's the fulcrum for me. Not whether it had happened or not. The key thing is we must stop it at this point. But we also acknowledge effort made by United States of America because they reawoken our consciousness as far as these things are concerned. So now there must be a new strategy, new approach to fighting terrorism and fighting insecurity in Nigeria, and it is expected of Mr. President to develop a master plan, a blueprint. We must give ourselves targets that we expect within the next 12 months. Insecurity or terrorism must have been extinguished in this country, and what we need to do that, how we go about it, these things must come from the Office of National Security Advisor in conjunction with the service chiefs, and they must have a blueprint. The way we've been doing it has been counterproductive. In fact, it has not yielded the expected fruit and results. And you can't be doing a particular thing over and over again using the same formula and expect a different result. It doesn't work that way. So we must come up with a master plan, and at the same time the US, we must also appreciate them. I remember some Muslim group concern, I think Muslim rights concern, the Murik, they have been calling for Amopitan to leave that office as the INEC chairman. And what is their grouse? That Amopitan had authored paperworks about Christian genocide in Nigeria, and they recited some of the paperworks he had authored in the past about Christian genocide, where he was calling for American assistance. They went to, I don't know whether I can call it trash bin and all that. I don't know where, and I saw some of those things where he was calling for assistance, maintaining that Christians were massacred. I don't know where Murik, Muslim Rights Concern Group, how they picked it, and the next was they should leave that position, that he has not shown religious neutrality even when it is known that he's a Christian. And I also saw Iowa youths at the same time telling them that this happened long time ago, that when he authored those papers, was long time ago, and it does not in any way affect his current position. But the key thing remains that we've seen facilitators, collaborators of terrorism not being arrested in Nigeria. There was a time United States of America, and in fact United Arab Emirates, they gave us a list of top personalities that we are linked to terrorism. What did we do with the list? We did not even invite anybody. We did not even investigate anybody. And does that tell that we are serious about fighting terrorism? Many, they have intelligence reports on activities of some highly placed personalities. What have we done? What have we done about terrorism financing? These terrorists, they use drone. You can't just acquire drone by using cash. It must pass through institutions, banking institutions, for you to procure the kind of drone, armament, equipment, and motorcades that these terrorists move around with. How did they get these funds? How did they buy this armament, this equipment? How did they bring it into the country? Have we asked ourselves these questions? These people, they are not robots. They don't operate in vacuum. These things are crystal clear. They operate in our spaces. They make use of our institutions. They get these things done. You want to tell me that our intelligence report cannot even indict this movement? We have NFIU, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, that monitors funds, how they come into the country, how they leave the country. Have they been? See, we have institutions that can monitor some of these things. We have the NIA. So the point remains that, would I say that it seems that these terrorists, they have infiltrated every of these institutions. That sometimes that these institutions work in line with them, or what? One can be, safe to say things like this, because they have no one stopping them. They have a field day, and when we have these reports coming from outside the country, we don't act on them. What it means that we are in the know. And when you don't act on something, it means that you are a complicit. See, we must change approach if truly we want to stop all these things. We must. And there is no way we continue doing what we are doing. It is not going to work. Christians are killed. And the argument that Muslims are also killed, yes. But can you compare the numbers? And whether these killings are targeted or not targeted, because if you look at what happened in Benue State, if you look at what happened in Plateau State, somebody, running roughshod on a community, bringing it down. And you can't say it wasn't targeted. You can't say you never knew that those people were Christians. You can't say that it wasn't genocide. You can't say that the intention was not to exterminate them. No matter what could have led to that. We can't keep counting bodies from time to time and paying lip service to those things and doing the same thing. I'm not part of those that will pay lip service. My own is to state the obvious, especially the ones I can verify. The ones I cannot verify, I will leave it in the realm of speculation. See, we must be serious. And the time is now. The time is now. Because if United States of America goes on with their plans, next will be sanctions. They will unleash sanctions. And these sanctions will cut across board. Political class will be sanctioned. Heads of judiciary will be sanctioned. Political parties will be sanctioned. And institutions will be sanctioned. And if that happens, their allies will work in tandem with them. There will be freezing of assets. Some assets owned by some of these persons, no matter where these assets they have them, will be frozen. And there will be diplomatic tension. And there will be this threat. And I have said it many times. Most wars I have studied, I've taken time over time to study different wars in different times. Since the world was created, we've had almost over 100 million wars. Over 100 million wars at different times. And most of you study the causative factors of this change. It starts with rising tension. We're going to talk about the World War first. And when you talk about that, it was Franz Ferdinand, his killing in 1914 that, sparked the war. There was already tension. Because for those who knew about Austro-Hungary, how they occupied some part of Serbia, and, they never liked it. That was why a Serb killed a Hungarian prince. Before you know it, the war started. There was tension already. That was one of the things that caused the First World War. And the Second World War was caused as a result of some unresolved issues during the First World War. Because Germany, that was giving heavy punishment, a lot of things were taken from them. They considered territories. And in fact, they cannot develop arms. That was one of the conditions, the treaty they signed after the First World War, because they got involved so much. Because of their alliance, or their alliance with Austro-Hungary. And Russia took the side of Serbia. So, in fact, the fact remains that there will always be tension. And what is going on now is rising tension between us and the United States of America. So it's not all about diplomatic engagement, trying to move around, to say this, to sell this, to these people are here already. What are you selling? You are selling something to a buyer when you know that the buyer is with you. The buyer follows you around. So it's not about what you're going to tell the buyer. So it's all about what the buyer is seeing.
We keep our fingers crossed to see how this eventually pans out. Honestly, war is scary, and for the love of God and for everything I hold dear, I hope this doesn't degenerate any further. I hope that we sincerely handle this so that, for the sake of the people who lose their lives, the pain of death is actually felt by the people living. The people who have parents today and have none by evening, the children who go to school in the morning and end up in terrorist camps, who are forced to become mothers, children having children. It's a lot of sadness from that part of Nigeria, and we hope that all of this is taken care of. And also tensions in other parts of the country. The southeast is not left out. We hope that in the coming days there is peace restored in earnest, and not the kind of peace that we are trying to look alike, that we are going about trying to make it look like we have. We know there is an issue and we need it sincerely solved. And just to let you know that this is a breaking news, the faction of the PDP backed by the FCT minister Yeso Wike have this morning, as we speak, announced an emergency meeting of the Board of Trustees and National Executive Committee set to hold tomorrow, Tuesday, the 18th of November 2025. According to a notice issued this morning by the functional National Secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, and also shared by the media aide to the FCT Minister, Lere Olainka, on his formerly Twitter handle, both meetings are scheduled to hold at the NEC Hall of the PDP National Secretariat, Wadata Plaza, Abuja. The BOT meeting holds by 11 and the NEC meeting by 2. And this statement added that attendance is very important as crucial matters will be discussed and addressed. And so after tomorrow, we keep you updated with what the Wike Anyanwu faction of the PDP comes up with. As it stands, Wike Anyanwu and some of their cohorts are no longer a part of the PDP led by Turaki. And of course, this particular faction led by Turaki is backed by most of the governors still with the PDP, and the other governors who were not at the convention, we already know why. We already know their fate. We need to attend to some commercials, but quickly, Tony, before we go, because once we come back from the commercial break, we'd open up the phone lines. And do not forget, we are live on Facebook. Our handle is Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can drop your comment right there. There is a video ready on our wall. Tony, over the weekend, there were concerns raised about the number of delegates sent to Brazil for the COP30 Global Climate Summit convention, Global Summit that happened in Brazil from 10th to 21st of November 2025. Nigeria has a total of 749 delegates. Third on the list, highest by Brazil, that's the host country, with 3,805 delegates. China with 789. There is Nigeria with 749. The likes of Peter Obi find this very questionable. He said, I mean, look at China has every reason to probably have that number, but you, Nigeria, my brother, you're not supposed to. Stressing your thin resources already. What do you think?
I think it's just back to what we had the last time. Remember the last COP 29, where it was held in Baku, Azerbaijan. Nigeria sent 634 delegates to COP 29. And then in that COP 29, those 334 delegates were made up of about 214.
634.
So it tells a lot. It was over 420 was overflow. That's what it means, that more than expected, or the cap for the delegates of 420.
Is there really a cap? Because that last year, the host country, Azerbaijan, had 2,229. Brazil had 1,914. Turkey had 1,862. Nigeria actually was a distant 8th on that list. There were countries that had more.
You know, one thing about Nigeria is this: we like spilling and then languishing public funds. We don't learn.
So you think this is about funds and not about the interests of the country being
I think it's
represented?
You have to give these delegates extra codes. Because if you look at it, the COP28 that attracted all these, brouhaha, had Nigeria with Nigeria had about 1,411 delegates.
So we're cutting it down already.
And it was the third highest overall amongst nations that participated. But then many Nigerians talked, and then the brouhaha was everywhere.
But this figure, Tony.
They brought it down to 634 in COP29, and now we are told that it is 749 in COP30. So you couldn't say that we are bringing it down. What happens to those who are going with about 300 and 400 something delegates?
So two questions I have here. Is there a cap for the number of delegates every country can send? That is the first question. The second question, truly, are these people all there to represent the Nigerian interest? Because we understand there are people from the private sector. Are all of them being funded by the government? That is my third question. We have people from the civil society. We have academias. Are all of them being funded by the government? That's my third question. And my final question about this, before we round off this conversation, looking at the numbers that other countries send, is there a problem with how much we send outside of the money issues?
Let's begin with the cap. Is there any cap for any country, probably for this conference? If you look at the rule, there is no strict cap on delegation size. There is no strict cap. In fact, according to a guide by the IIED, International Institute for Environment and Development, there is no maximum or minimum number of people in a party delegation under the UNFCCC rules. So that means countries are free to send very large delegations, including government officials, civil society, business leaders, scientists, and more. Over time, delegation size of ATCOPs, for me, have grown a lot. You know, if you look at carbon brief analysis, it shows that some countries' delegations can be very large, especially for host countries, but it's expected. So, for me, we are talking about countries that have sent, you know, such a huge number of people. If you talk about top delegation for CAP30, you have Brazil, just like we said earlier on, with over 805 delegations. China with about 789 and Nigeria 749. Are you competing with Brazil? Are you competing with China in terms of GDP? You are no match to these countries. You are no match. But just like you said, some people will say that some of these delegates, they form part of the the business class, the elite. They may sponsor themselves. They may not be sponsored by the government money, but it's left for the government to come and tell us, because we've seen over times. Most times government call on these people to come for this, and in calling them to come for this, you must also take care of their accommodations and their travel expense. So it is not written. Most times things are done in opaque in Nigeria. There's no transparency, there's no accountability. If not for a particular website that throws every expense made by government, we may not even know what is going on in different government quarters. We may not even know. I think GovSpend, there's a website, GovSpend, that tracks every expenses. So the truth remains that we are so much committed in giving away what could have been conserved. Look at convoys. Most times, if you look at convoys of political class or political leaders, it tells a lot. If you look at, we must cut cost of governance. That's where all these things I'm actually driving.
Are driven towards, yeah.
Must cut cost of governance. It is so bloated. It's so much that we have. You know, we must also let everyone who is attending this brief to know that we are the capital when it comes to poverty. When you talk about malnutrition, out of school, these are negative indices on our country already. Out of school children, more than India, more than China, more than Brazil. These are countries with population, even Pakistan. So it tells you a whole lot. We must find a way to cut down cost of governance.
All right, we'll take a break at this point, attend to some commercials. Once we come back, the phone lines will be open. Do stay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806-416-2374 or 0706-059-6203. With Best Aluminium, you're investing in peace of mind, in beauty, and in the future of your home. Because when it comes to roofing, the best choice is always Best Aluminium MFG Limited. Tomorrow's technology today.
Hello, my brother.
Hello, bro. How far now?
Adele, waiting this up now.
Now my tenants, they won't finish me. They don't even pay rent. Wahala every day. Papa, the way you get supposed to give me joy. You don't do wahala.
Yeah, my brother. You need to upgrade to A sharply.
Guy, another agent I beg, I don't want. Agent that they wahala na 5 or 6.
Sure, you never try Asoja sets now. The best from in property management. See, since I carry my houses, give them. Nah, so they enjoy peace of mind like this. Them they handle rent collection, tenant screening, maintenance, everything. I just they relax, they watch my investment, they grow like this.
You know me now. You mean I avoid all these shifting with tenants?
Now, correct. Asoja sets go manage all your property worries. Them they professional, transparent, and reliable.
My friend, will you get out? Now see finish the cost of this nonsense. No worry. Asweja said they come. Una go soon hear out.
Why stress when Aswech Assets will run am for you? For property management, tenant services and real estate solutions, call Aswech Assets today on 0904 0422 240 or 0906 8205 058 or visit our office at number 8 Niger Drive, GRA Onitsha, Anambra State. Forget cho from house agents and trust the experts at Aswech Assets for your peace of mind. Aswech Assets, managing property, multiplying value.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa Chichane Tozialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Chichane Nyanduo. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, it get it better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside CPS, Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. Wendy's bread.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
It's time for us to feel your pulse. Get involved by putting a call across to 0803-221-6973 or 0803-876694. Let's not waste time so much on courtesies. Let's go straight to the point. A minute 30 seconds max. Your name and your location, please. Good morning. Good morning. Could you please turn on the volume on your radio set? Go ahead, please.
My question to Olisa Mbeki. This is working past and just one that we have done in the past years. Not to Nigeria. This is number one. Number two is that I just want to go with to go and rest. He is very Olisa. The PDP are talking about this. I've done the list, and I don't think going to court cannot solve his problem. Everyone's have problems, let me solve them. Thank you and God bless you.
God bless you too. Let's hear you. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. So we've moved on from the convention of the PDP that happened over the weekend. Recent development is that the Wike faction is set to have their own meeting tomorrow. Good morning.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but yeah, let me speak on DP. But I think it's a good development because we have been waiting for this for a very long time, and this comes at a particular time we need it. Because if Nigeria PDP as one of the most populated political parties in Nigeria is being treated this way, that means Nigeria is just one party system, and this is very bad in a democratic government. But what happens is like a best of democracy because PDP resurrecting again. They welcome development because Wike has taken itself for right and take that message, and it has been posted that nobody can explain him from the political party, and yesterday marked the beginning of PDP again. I know that there are a lot of legislation is going to go on, but tomorrow after tomorrow's meeting, things will start happening. It doesn't matter. It's better to do it this way so that we can know that because it has posting that fight to finish. It is to fight to finish. Let them finish. If they're going to say, let them say. If they're not going to say, let them to fight so that we know that it has gone. PDP, we has tell PDP and kick PDP. Let me PDP die. Everybody that is dying with PDP, go and die with PDP. Thank you for the analysis. Thank you.
All right then. Let's hear what you have to say. We also took a look at recent security developments with the Pope yesterday saying that there is need for something to be done. As a matter of fact, prayers in the case of some places including Kivu and then Nigeria, Mozambique. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
My name is Ogochuku from Udian Use.
Go ahead, Ogochuku.
As far as I'm concerned, what PDP has done in Ibadan, pure illegal. Because a competent court of jurisdiction has delivered their judgment, restrained them not to have from having that convention, and they flouted that judgment and go ahead to have that convention. So that is it. So I make they are right not to observing that convention. And I pity for those who use that platform to contest any elected position, because INEC will not recognize them as a valid candidate, because the convention that produced the leadership of PDP is illegal according to the competent court of jurisdiction. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Now, when you call us, please turn down the volume on your radio set. I know you might just like to hear yourself while you talk on radio, but please, the howl back is not good for us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. This time you are here from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I want to comment on PDP's convention.
The PDP's convention?
I'm sorry. Yeah, PDP now. There's this on there now. So what I want to say that their decision to expel Wigan and his group came very late. They would have done this before this time. Not to sanitize their party. Because all the while, Wigan is party, they have been employed in the place of PDP. And they plan to disorganize PDP. But I want to congratulate the PDP now. They stand a good chance to start making amends. So even the meeting, what we call him, what you have tomorrow at Wadata, that meeting is not his voice. It's because that person is not recognized. So we're calling PDP should try more than possible to destabilize whatever we can explain and doing. And they should, because make sure they get themselves organized so as to be able to stand firm and, presenting a candidate for PDP in 2027. Then on the genocide side, yes, I'm happy that the Congress are now starting to deliberate on the issue of genocide. They don't know about it. They cannot run away from life. Christian kid in Nigeria, yes, the genocide in Nigeria. So they will not like they one thing with this SPC government is that they build online, they do a function online. They don't tell the truth. They tell like, look at what happened to the Kami's MMA report. The medical doctors did not coordinate and they get a text and they accepted it. Before this government coming forward, they had to get fake tweets to endorse Tinubu. And they why they kill and the line like Peter and not killed. So please, we have to pay for this country to deliver us from this government that is full of lies. God bless you. Thank you.
Right then. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Sunday, calling from the blog.
Go ahead, Sunday.
My own concern about this genocide. I thought by now, our National Assembly will start looking for ways to create state police to calm this insecurity down. They are busy talking about how to keep the state, while other states are maybe burning. The best thing they should do now, start planning how to create state police, empower the governors to be in charge of their security in their place, in their locality. Let them bring the security to locality. It will stop 50% of this insecurity. They are just beating around the bush as if one inspector general or one army, one command from Abuja will control all the whole Nigeria. Not possible. Local government police, state police will solve 70% of this insecurity. Another one concerning PDP. To me, I pray that PDP will not die nationally, because 2023, they denied the Southeast ticket when it's obvious that Southeast is supposed to get that ticket, and they deny it to us. And that is the problem they're having today. Those men that have shared them dollars during their primary to make sure the power goes to North. Where are they? They have the PDP and go for another party. So better than rename that party. That PDP will not work again. Let them change the name in another name. Thank you.
Okay. That's his opinion, Tony. He thinks the PDP should better die off. But what's the fate of opposition in a democracy where almost all the parties have internal squabbles? If you say the PDP should die off, what happens? The LP is not better off. The ADC is on wobbly feet. Hello, good morning. Are you there? You need to try reconnect. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Those are the numbers for you to call to be a part of the show this morning. And like I said earlier, we are live on Facebook. The handle is Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Turn down the volume on your radio set, please. Could you please turn down the volume on your radio set?
Let me do it now.
Thank you.
I think it's okay now.
Go ahead.
I leave the voice of honor to play from Kingdom.
Go ahead, please.
My speaker. This is to speak up. I always say, see,
I'm sorry, your network is a mess. You need to try to reconnect, okay? Move around, then try to call us back. Good morning. The volume on your radio set, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Olisa Mbeki, good morning.
You're welcome.
Alright, this is the voice of Bishop Fairs. I'm meeting you people from Awada here in Obosi, up on the border. Good morning once again.
Let's hear you, Bishop. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Alright. Well, I want to say something concerning the convention held by People Democratic Party 15th and 16th of November 2025. For me, it is a welcome development. And I abide by the communique surrounding the convention. But the voting contention now is the guys that are being expelled from the party. How are they going home to sleep? Or are they going home to file case against these other factions? So, but if at all they want PDP to rise and wake up again, this community has to be maintained. I think it is overdue for Wike and his faction, Ayawo, and all these guys to set aside, to allow PDP breathe. Because these guys, as far as I'm concerned, they are on a mission. They are, one leg is there, the other leg is the other place, causing one commotion, one mayhem, one catastrophe, being a virus in the system. So if PDP can stand on their ground to say no, to maintain the community that have reached at the convention, it is a welcome development, and it's going to be a wake-up call and a recondiment for the success and the lively of the PDP again. Other than that, I don't think they're going to make any headway. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Let's take one more call and then head over to Facebook. Good morning. All right, then. On Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, I am starting with your comment. Gochiku Frank said this move to expel Wike, Fayoshe and others for anti-party activities is a bold step towards reclaiming PDP's soul. Their 2023 support for Tinubu and the APC fractured the party. Discipline was overdue, but why spare Sheyi Makinde? Obiagwike Chuku, he says sacking of Wike and others is long overdue. PDP waited for a long time for things to go wrong before taking the bold decision. It will take enough time with lots of difficulties to restore the lost glory of PDP. Same sacking should be brought down to local government and state levels for proper sanitation of the party. Okoye Angolika said, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Godswill Okoye commends the PDP for finally suspending Wike because although it actually came too late, because Wike has achieved his aim already under the party. Pope commenting on killings of Christians in Nigeria needs urgent action. Please, okay, now I'm not going to read that part of the text. As a Hillary, the police was too fast to issue a report on such a sensitive issue. In any case, until I hear from Yerima, I won't even believe. Okay, the police. His Holiness Pope Leo has spoken. Thank you, sir, for telling the truth, the way it is, and not the way of the APC. Okay. Wechiobi, I want to thank Chief Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki for a wonderful analysis this morning, quite educative. And he also, Mazi Chikwadurum, says he loves the decision of the PDP by expelling the political epidemic disease and its children that have been eating them up all this while. This is what I have been expecting from PDP. Stoppy Wiki and Co will bring them peace. I would bring back oneness to the party. Bagam for them, Joe. Right. Okwe S says PDP's recent convention has drawn the battle line between Wike's faction. In fact, from the history of Nigeria Republic, I never witnessed the highest level of Wike's anti-party. Emmanuel Chiadi, he totally concurs with Dr. Tony. He said our political elites really seem to lack the patriotic spark, and the fallout is obvious. Non-state actors are getting bolder, and now the U.S. has slapped Nigeria with a country of particular concern designation, citing severe religious freedom violations. Let's take this. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Wonderful morning to you, Chief.
Good morning.
Yes, my regards to Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Yes, I'm a little bit disturbed.
Your name and your location, please.
I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead.
I'm a little bit disturbed. Yes, in the sense that in some rumors, there are atom of truth. Yes, this officer who is being rumored, although the talk was saying some military spokesperson, he didn't say military spokesperson. I mean, he came out and says the military spokesperson, we can say for sure that it's real. Just like the speaker pointed out there, that the military sources cannot be solved. So I was just expecting that there have been a military spokesperson who have said that, but we pray it's not true, because what is going on in Abuja is something else. This insecurity you're talking about, Abuja is not free from it. Little have we forgotten what happened to the Rice Press Center. I don't know whether she was one that is being targeted and she jumped from the window. The rest is story. So all we are trying to say is that this insecurity in the country is not fetching anybody any good here. This set of mafias that is operating in Abuja, you know, those who are started with that responsibility must have to look inward and ensure that all life is being safe in Abuja. That's just the major concern here. Okay, that's just in fact it's giving a serious concern. So coming to what Leo has said, it's a good one. Leo have just said it, and Donald Trump has said it. The Congress will look deeper into it, and we urge US. They shouldn't wait until bodies of Muslims and Christians see the mortuary before they have to come in here. They have to wait in immediately and arrest all this, arrest the situation before bodies of Christians, you know, fill the mortuary. Who they think that relevant authorities or personalities have spoken about it, and more will testify, because the killing is something else and must be solved. Thank you so much.
All right then, Dr. Tony, we are rounding off. We need to take down the curtain on today's conversation. I am sorry we cannot take any more calls. Would you want to react to any of the comments so far?
Well, we are just doing our own to make sure that the country works. Yes, we must make sure that the country works. I wouldn't want Nigeria to be a laughingstock before the Committee of Nations. What happened last night, where we couldn't qualify for World Cup consecutively, tells a lot. We must do things when we are supposed to do things. Institutions must work. They must work. There are people that have been talking about sack the coach, do this, do that. The man came on a rescue mission, and for the benefit of hindsight, he had won more matches than most of the people that had started the whole campaign. But that is by the way. Many Nigerians were disappointed. That's the only thing that unites us. The only thing that makes Nigerians to forget their ethnic affiliation, their religious is football. Why wouldn't we pay more attention to that, which makes Nigerians happy? Do you know the kind of BP that would have been taken care of if Nigeria had qualified? Many people may not need to buy amlodipine, but it happened, and many last night had to rush. We had to buy it. Let the country bring happiness instead of bringing pains and sorrows.
Tony, you're just funny.
No, but that's the truth. For those who are having high blood pressure predicament, what could they have done if they are football enthusiasts? So, but we must really do things when others are doing. If you look at Senegal, if these are countries doing good, why can't we? We must be truly the giant of Africa. We call ourselves in every sense, in governance, in politics, in institution wise, in everything. We should live up to the expectations.
Absolutely, we should live up to the expectations and also do our bits in our little corners of the earth and of Nigeria to make sure that we get the Nigeria of our dreams, the Nigeria we desire. Thank you, Tony, for your wonderful analysis today. Thank you for your calls and your contribution. Up next is a Higher Ground Real Estate Live, a half-hour program right here with Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki and the Higher Ground Real Estate crew. I am Chisom Chinedu. I'll see you again tomorrow 9:15 to 11 a.m. on the Polity. But then at 12:25 down to 2 o'clock, I'll be back on radio with Edith, and we are going to be talking entertainment and catching up with all of the things that happened over the weekend on the Cherry Box. See you around. Good morning.
Before the bridges came, before the city stretched its arms to the sky, there was a voice carried by the great Niger, whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves, a voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. Udala. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.